thank you guys very, very much, everybody, for purchasing a ticket and coming out and just being a part of our 518 Talks launch event. It is extremely important that we thank you guys because I know there are a ton of community events this evening, and it makes us feel incredibly special that you guys would come here and spend this time with us this evening. The purpose of 518 Talks, the reason for the creation of this platform, was an idea of creating an opportunity for our voices, our ideas, our legacy to be heard and to be left. I wanted to capture the energy that is out in the Capital District at this time. We have wonderful people doing absolutely amazing work in fashion, in the community, in education, in politics, and it's extremely important that we take hold of that energy, not just for us, but if you look around, there are three amazing youth here that are running this entire production. Justice Jackson, who is our director. Mr. Jamel Perry, who is up in the booth. He is our producer. And Justice's older sister, Nashri Berg, who is our host. Something that I understand very clearly is that it is not my job to do the work, but it is to create opportunities for our youth to be successful. It's my job to bring people together. In this very venue, we have speakers from Schenectady, Albany, Troy, backgrounds in community, education, politics, all different types of upbringing. It's important to salute our differences and love our change and our efforts. So with that being said, I don't really want to do a whole bunch of talking. That's not what I'm here for. All I want to do is set this launch off correctly. So please, everybody, get your cameras out. Get your phones out real quick if you can. We're going to have a wonderful social media moment. Oh, let me give a thank you to my sponsors, right? This is Elevate and Conquer right here. It is a clothing brand created by Mr. Michael McCall, a good friend of mine, a young man and individual from the Schenectady area. Also, I know who they are, so it's all right. Mr. Trent Griffin, owner of Tech Valley Shuttle, who is not only a sponsor and a friend, but he is a speaker this evening. Let's give him a round of applause. My good friend and brother, Mr. James D. Thomas Jr. and the James D. Thomas Jr. Foundation. That's my brother. We work together on everything. We can give him a round of applause. Miss Karen Lang and her business, Health Literacy for All. Thank you. Let's give her a round of applause. My new friends and family in the front row, the Wolfpack Wealth Group. Let's give them a round of applause. Also, Mr. Eugene O'Neill and Made in Truth by Us Design and Screen Printing. Let's give him a round of applause. And I also got confirmation a little while ago from another sponsor who was unable to make it this evening, but the Schenectady Foundation. Let's give them a round of applause. So without further ado, the great thing about this is, so we're going to have our speaker come up. It's going to be raw, uncut. It's going to be unfiltered, unsolicited, just passion, energy directly from that individual. And after that, we will have 5 to 10 minutes of audience questions or comments in between our speakers. So without further ado, let's welcome our first speaker, owner of Tech Valley Shuttle, Mr. Trent Griffin.
All right, good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, actually. Thank you, everyone, for coming. I guess I don't have much time, so I'm gonna kind of jump right into it. This segment is called "Live Your Dreams," and I came up with the concept because I know we all have dreams, and a lot of times people feel they can't actually live their dreams. And I'm someone who's standing in front of all of you guys who actually I'm living my dream. And I'm enjoying it. I'm having a great time doing it, and I hope I motivate and inspire others to go out and live their dreams. So a little bit about me. I was born in New York City in the Bronx. At the age of 8, my father passed away. And when he passed away, we ended up moving to Schenectady. It was me and my mother. And during that time, it was pretty tough. I came from, and when we lived in New York, we had a pretty good life. And once we transitioned up here, things got a little tough. And I remember at one point living, me and my mother sharing a bunk bed in an attic apartment, a one-bedroom attic apartment, me and my mom sharing a bunk bed to now, just able to move my mother into my house, and now we have an in-law suite. So we've come a long way as a family. But the in-between, that's where the real story is. And so after high school, I went to college, didn't do good in college. School wasn't for me, and it's something that to this day I tell kids, school isn't for everybody. But it's important that education is still important, and education comes in many forms. As a trade, you could be self-taught, and but I knew for me, school wasn't the right path for me. So I failed out of college, came home, started hanging out with the wrong crowds, and also talk about that with a lot of people, the importance of surrounding yourself with good people. And from my decision to start hanging around the wrong people landed me in prison. I was 19 years old when I was sentenced to 4 to 12 years in prison. Had a little bit of luck during that time because there were some reforms to the drug laws. So I ended up doing 3 years out of the 4 to 12 year sentence. However, I still had to serve that time. Coming home was the best day, April 27th, 2007. And I just remember coming home. I knew I had to start. It was a fresh new start. I had a reset. And what I did with that reset is I decided I wanted to start to live my dreams. And so what I did was my first day home, I actually created a goals list, something I've never done before. And that goals list actually gave me an aim. It gave me a target. And I was 23 years old at the time. And basically I created a goals list of things I wanted to accomplish by the time I was 30. And some of those things included getting off parole, of course, getting my own house. I had to go back home, getting a car, getting a license, getting a career path. And I'm glad to say now, by taking that one step of writing my dreams down, my goals down, I was able to accomplish all of those. And by the time I was 30, I did all of that plus some. I had owned multiple houses at that point. I had bought and sold houses. I was into the real estate thing. I had, not only had I had a career path, I had gone from coming home and working temp jobs to now I was actually the general manager of a hotel at that point. And see, I was able to do that only through following my dreams. And by following my dreams, I knew I had to educate myself. So when I started in the hotel industry, I was actually cleaning toilets. I was a shuttle driver, and so I took that entry-level position, and every night I would go home and study. I would go home and practice. I knew I wanted to be a GM. I knew I could be a GM. I just didn't know how I could get there. And so I would go home, and I would teach myself the language of a general manager. I would go home, I would study a P&L sheet, profit and loss sheet, how a GM would do it. See, I took the initiative to actually chase my dreams. And by day, you wouldn't know that. I just looked like the guy who was cleaning the toilet. But by night, I was putting in the work that I needed so I could live my dreams. So fast forward, I go from houseman to front desk supervisor, all within a year's time. And then from there, I became the operations manager after that. Had to take a step back because at that particular job, the GM was going nowhere, and I knew it. So I left my job, which at the time, my mother said, "You're crazy." She said, "You just worked this hard to achieve your goal, and now you're going to throw it all away?" And I told her, I said, "I got to do it." I said, "I'm going to be stuck in this role forever because she's not going anywhere." And I remember going on job interviews after that and people telling me, because I just quit my job. At that point, I didn't know. If I knew what I knew now, I probably would have did it a little different, but I just quit my job. Knowing what I know now, I would have found another job first. But that just came with not knowing. And got into property management, did that, ran over 200 units. That's what actually got me into starting to acquire my own properties and knowing that I could rent them out and I understood how to be a property manager. And then and from all of those little things, I was able to then get back into the hotel industry in Schenectady, working with the Malozzi's, and I was the GM of their hotel. Stayed there for about 2 years. Not to get too much into it, but just say my 2 years with the Malozzi's, they made more money at that hotel than the hotel's existence. And from me seeing that from me seeing that, I knew I could run my own business. Why should I make someone else millions of dollars when I can make my family and myself millions of dollars? So I once again put on my big boy shoes, and I said, Mom, I'm out of there again. And one thing I will say is, it was very important for me to have someone, my wife, who was so supportive through the whole thing. I couldn't do it myself, no way possible. But my wife, she had my back the whole time and said, I believe in you. If you say you're gonna do it, go for it. So I end up using my network, which is something that is very important for everyone. Expand your network, go out, meet people, talk to people, tell your story, tell people your goals, whatever it may be, surround yourself with good people. But I was able to use my network on the Schenectady Hospitality Board, and I coordinated with 9 general managers and owners, said, hey, the casino's coming. There's no transportation to the airport other than these taxi services. If I create this service, would you use it? And based off my reputation, based off of them just knowing me, 9 hotels initially said from the jump, if you create it, we're going to use you. I'm blessed to say that today we work with over 50 hotels across the whole capital region. Thank you. We also work with a lot of big businesses, you know, your GEs. We do a lot for like colleges, Union, Skidmore, SCC, UAlbany. And then the one thing we're really working on for next year is just being known to the everyday person. But I mean, I couldn't do any of those things. I wouldn't be living my dreams today if it didn't all start with that goals list, if it didn't start with hard work, if it didn't start with me understanding that I have to work on myself. I have to be the best version of me before I could do anything else. So educating myself, holding myself accountable. You know, one thing I learned in prison was I hated people telling me what to do. So I said, once I'm out of this situation, I'm gonna make sure no one ever has to tell me what to do, because I'm gonna do it because I know it's the right thing to do. I think also another thing with living your dreams is, you know, a lot of times you don't know how you're going to get there. The task may seem so big, but if you just take step by step, break things down to the simplest form and then attack it. See, once I was released from prison on April 27th, I always said I wanted to go back. I said I wanted to go back to talk to others. At that time, it just didn't seem realistic. But I can say last year, I was able to go back to the same prison hub that I was incarcerated in and talk to the youth, able to talk to over 100 inmates at the time, all under the age of 18, tell my story and let them know, like, there is hope after this. They don't have to come back here. They don't have to be the same statistic. Actually, if you're going to be a statistic, be on the other side of the statistic. You know what I mean? And so that's what I go in there and I try to tell the youth today, because I'm living my dream just by being able to come here and share my story with everyone in this room. You know, living your dreams doesn't always have to be the big house on the hill, even though, you know, that's what most want. Living your dreams is just doing the things you want to do, doing it on your terms, and doing it the right way. So I just stand before you guys as a living testament that, you know, anything is possible as long as you're willing to work at it. Anything is possible as long as you believe in yourself, and you can achieve all things. So go out there and stop dreaming and just start living your dreams. We got a little Q&A segment right now, so if anybody has any questions or anything, feel free.
Could you just expand a little bit on what your business is, what you guys do, and how long you've been doing it?
So, elevator pitch, we're basically a group transportation service. You know, we specialize in group transportation at an affordable price, but never dropping the quality or the service. Started with a Sprinter van, 11-passenger Sprinter van. Today we have a charter bus. We have a 20-passenger bus. We have a Sprinter. We have transit vans, minivans, CRVs. So we're able to do individuals or groups. We specialize in airport, Amtrak transportation, New York City airports, as well as concerts, sporting events, and weddings. So any transportation need you may have, individual or group, we're who you want to call.
How did you come up with that name, Elevator Pitch?
Oh, no. I didn't come up with that. It's just an industry term of like being able to sell your product to somebody really quick. So if you were in an elevator with somebody, describe your business by the time they get to their floor.
Right. I knew that, but I was wondering, how did you connect that to transportation?
Oh, no. I didn't connect it. I was just saying, like, when he asked the question, I was just saying elevator pitch, like, real quick.
I thought you were saying that was the name of your business.
No, the name of the business is Tech Valley Hospitality Shuttle.
Makes sense.
So Uber and Lyft has been a blessing to our business. And let me explain. When I first started the company, you know, when you're first starting something, you're kind of like the Wild Wild West. Like, we were just trying to do anything. If we just wanted business. So before Uber and Lyft, we were like borderline a taxi company. You know, like people would just call us, we need to go here, we need to go here. The hotels would call us. We were just doing anything. Once Uber and Lyft came, it eliminated that because people were now using their phones and doing Uber or Lyft. So at that time, I said, you know, we got to get back to the drawing board because the sales were falling. And I said, how are we going to survive this? And that's when I said, we're group transportation. Uber can't do group transportation, so we need to focus on group transportation. And so that's Uber and Lyft was a blessing in all reality. Anything else? Yeah, you might have saw me on Spectrum.
Now the focus on reentry, how do you see it in terms of your own hiring practices? Do you look for a particular kind of person? Do you ask? Do you have conviction? Have you ever had a conviction? I mean, how do you go about that, and what do you look for in an employee?
So naturally, I want to help. You know, that's natural. And as you guys know, I'm also a member of the Community Justice Board. So part of living my dreams is being able to help people with reentry. But when it comes to hiring, you know, we're definitely. It's not a criteria or anything. There are people on the team who have criminal histories, but at the same time, I just look for good people, you know? If I could give someone a shot who wouldn't be given that shot, you know, I got a good heart, and it's got me in trouble. I've hired some people that I probably shouldn't have, and it didn't work out because I shouldn't have hired them. I just had a big heart. But I try to just fill people out generally, just like when I was in the hotel. Like, I fill you out, ask you questions if you can answer the questions. If I feel a good vibe from you and good energy, then, you know, we kind of proceed from there. But honestly, if I could help anybody, I'm always, that's kind of almost, it's a gift and a curse. Like, sometimes it gets me in trouble.
Where do you see your business 1 year from now and then 5 years from now?
So 1 year from now, like I said, I want to focus on more general sales. Just being a general household name was what is more so. So I see us continuing to just grow, continuing to, I look at for me, I say the first 5 years of the business is laying a very solid foundation. I know you can't build a house on weak foundation. So I want to build a very solid foundation. So for me, we're still in our foundation mode, but I'm looking to, like I said, gear it towards more the everyday person, as well as increase our corporate clientele list. 5 years from now, it's my goal to franchise. I would like to start bringing it to different areas. I've already mapped out some areas in New York State. Naturally, that's going to be a little easier because we're already here. But ideally, I would like to take it, down. I just went to Texas. When I was in Texas, the whole time I was down there, I kid you not, I'm looking at every big vehicle. I'm Googling shuttle services. So my mind is always thinking, where can we take it next? What area needs us? My mentor told me before, you want to find where the need is and go to the need. So so I'm always looking, but I would definitely say franchising definitely within the next 5 years.
Good evening, bro. Carmen, over here. Look, over here.
Oh.
Hey. Hello, everyone. My name is Carmen, and I'm here from Troy to support everyone who's standing up on the stage today. But I truly, truly, truly appreciate you, Trent, for standing up in so many different ways. And you've talked about your trials and tribulations and how you've been able to turn circumstance into dream. And you don't just run a business. You give back to the community more than just going to a jail. So if you can share with the community how you invest back into the community to build our economic and social capacity, that would be awesome.
Well, Carmen, I've known Carmen since before I went to jail. Like, she's seen me as a kid to now, so, I love Carmen. She's going to put me on the spot. But, so in the community, I've been doing community stuff outside of this for a long time. Even when I was just in the hotels, it was very important to have the team go to like Habitat for Humanity, help build houses. We would go down, I got the Malozzi's before to open up Johnny's, and we did a big thing with the city mission where we brought people in and they were able to come get dressed up, go out to dinner. And then since I started my own company, I'm still involved with the city mission. I take my kids down there from time to time. They'll serve food. We've done the Habitat Humanity thing as a family, me and my children, my wife. We also, this year we did the Kicking It for a Cause kickball tournament at Central Park, where we worked with Carmen and some other local non-for-profits, and basically we put together this cool kickball event, and then the funds we gave to the non-for-profits. I talk in the colleges, SCC, talk to the hospitality students about the hospitality industry. Today we did the Boys Day Out, where we worked with 7th graders from the Schenectady School District, and we facilitated different things that they just need to know as men, as they grow and transition to men from boys. So I try to give back on more so with as much as I can with my knowledge. I think my story is one in the African American community that's common, us going to jail, but it's not as common to come out and create this business for yourself. And so I try to use that as inspiration to help so many people, let them know that you can do this. Like, it's achievable. I'm somebody who grew up on Emmett Street, Duane Avenue, and walked the same hallways in the schools and in the high schools, and I'm in front of them today telling them that you can achieve your goals if you want to. So I try to, that's probably the best way I give back, is through my wisdom and through my little bit of knowledge that I have, and sharing that with especially the youth.
Do we have one last question?
I just basically want to say so much of your story is directly relative to us. Rehabilitation has been a part of my life, and I'm kind of at the tipping point where I understand exactly what you're saying, that it's possible to do so many things. And it's not just like running your own business. It's becoming a person who can think for themselves, becoming a person who can, keep his mind geared towards a goal when he makes it. Because a lot of us make goals and then, we don't follow through. So I'm kind of on the mission where you at. So I'm just feeling that. Like, that's your story is inspirational to a person who can relate to it. So I just want to say thank you.
Nah, thank you. And I just want to say to you, and I just want to say to you as someone who's been in that same situation, like, if you want it, don't accept no. I was told, like I said, yeah, we work with over 50 hotels, right? But there's probably easily 200 hotels in this area. And that means the other 150 already told me no. But guess what? I'm going to still keep knocking on that door until they tell me yes. And that's the same mentality you got to take. You got to know, like, whatever your mission is, laser beam focus and do what you have to do to achieve that goal. And you'll be able to.
Thank you, Mr. Griffin. Those are the type of stories that need to be showcased in our community. When they talk about young men coming from the community, when they talk about people of color coming from the capital region, those are the type of things we need to hear because those stories are here. There are people like Trent all over that are doing the work. They are great. They're inspirational. So when we have the opportunity, let's celebrate them because, again, we have our youth watching. So this presentation is going to go out across social media. I'm going to make sure it gets into the hands of our youth. We're going to send it out to the youth in Albany and Schenectady and Troy. We want our kids to see this. That's what this platform is for. Thank you very much, Trent. I appreciate you. So next, we have this wonderful woman who is a branding and marketing expert. She is like a whole guru. Matter of fact, she is so good. She called me one day and told me how to fix my social media in like 24 steps, which was absolutely awesome, and I appreciated it. Give her a round of applause for Miss Maya McNulty.
And just give me one moment, please. All right, how's everybody doing tonight? Yeah, Trent, thank you. One more time. Thank you. All right, so go and look to the person to the right or to the left and tell them that they're awesome. All right, and behind you, high five the next person and tell them that they're awesome. If you find no value today in this presentation, at least when you leave, I want you to pass these things on because you could do this from your heart and you can do this meaningfully. If you have a smile, pass it on. If you have kindness, pass it on. If you have love, pass it on. If you have compassion, pass it on. If you have a $100 bill, pass it to Will. All right, so my presentation today is going to be on storytelling, mentorship, and also volunteerism. I've used these 3 platforms to elevate my business. I do social media management and branding for small businesses and nonprofits. I've been doing that for 7 years now, and prior to that, when I graduated high school, I moved off to Boston and I went to school and I studied fashion. Fashion merchandising and design. I had an opportunity to study in London, Paris, and Rome, and I honestly thought I would be designing wedding dresses on cruise ships so I could travel the world, and I'm in Schenectady. No, it isn't, but when I graduated, I worked for State Farm in Curry Road in Rotterdam. And after 18 months, I got fired from that job. I actually was doing so much work so fast that I was outperforming the other person that was behind me. She got upset and started to keep journals of my time tracker. And actually, I got fired even though I was making like a ton of commission and making the branch really successful. So a year later, I was on unemployment and I wrote my business plan. when I was on unemployment, and I opened a dress shop called Village Boutique, and it was in Glenville, on the corner of Swagertown and Route 50. It was an 800 square foot store, and after that, we outgrew the space because I had so many customers that I moved to another location next to Hannaford on Route 50. And then I saw these women, they were coming in, and they wanted to always be shopping and buying dresses. So I was like, what are you guys doing? They're like, oh, well, we work out at Curves for women. And I'm like, well, what is Curves? And so I started to learn what it was, and it was a no-brainer. I had owned a building in Schenectady, so I said, you know what, I'm gonna buy one. So I bought Albany and Schenectady in 2002. Well, in 2002 to 2006, it was a phenomenal time. Curves, has anyone ever been to a Curves for women? Chain stations now? All right, that was in my head for years. So, but in 2009, 10, and 11, I actually almost went bankrupt and financially devastated myself. Newborn, this beautiful home, family, and my life just changed. And so 7 years ago, I reinvented myself and started Up the Biz, marketing and advertising for businesses. Yep, so this room, in 2012, I fast-tracked you guys, right? In 2012, I was also hosting a television show called Scene TV, Schenectady Cable Entertainment News and Events. And Stakeholders, which is the largest volunteer organization, asked me to be the keynote for that event. Well, I've never keynoted before. And I'm like, okay, well, as Sir Richard Bronson would say yes and then figure it out afterwards. So that was what I was gonna do, say yes and then figure it out afterwards. Well, I came into this room, and back here where all the awardees were lined up, and you've got the big screen here. I'm looking into the sea of people, and I see the Golubs, and I see KeyBank, and I see like all these C-level core people, and then there's me that like my heart was racing, my palms were sweaty, I dropped my cue cards. I was a mess. It was the worst keynote of my life, and I swore I'd never public speak again. But here I am. So how did I get here? Well, what happened was, after that particular night, I decided that how I was going to become better at that fear. I wanted to start something that my voice would start to be documented, and that people would start to find me as an attractive character. So what I did was I created the Up the Biz Lunch and Networking Group. And in doing so, I would have these small little networking events, and I would be able to practice my pitch and be able to get comfortable in front of people and be able to speak. And they would understand, because I was offering so much value, that they couldn't say no. They couldn't refuse because there was so much value. And in your business too, when you're branding and you're getting your information out there, the more value you offer, the more content that you offer, you become the king. And I'm going to show you how to do that in a couple presentations in a little while. Does that sound good? Okay. So that's called NLP. So that's Tony Robbins, and every time you guys say yes to me means I put you in the trance of NLP. So that's another marketing thing. So, do we have anybody that's afraid of public speaking? Yeah? Right, it's scary, right? So your palms are sweaty and your heart's racing, and sometimes you black out, your mouth sometimes can be dry. Well, the one way to be able to public speak and to tell stories is to use your 5 senses. Right? So I explained to you the way I looked out and I saw the sea of people, the way my heart was racing, my palms were sweaty. I dropped, you visualized yourself being there, correct? So, and you probably even felt badly for me, right? So one of the ways that you can public speak and be able to storytell, whether you're doing like a Facebook Live or a podcast or a presentation, is through storytelling, but you do it using your 5 senses. Do you understand that? Okay, good. NLP. So places that you can storytell. And here's the thing, why do you want to storytell? Those are great answers. So people do remember stories, but one of the reasons why you're going to be able to storytell, and the sooner that you storytell, the better, is because you're documenting your journey. We just heard your journey, right? So everyone has a story and everyone has a journey, and so that goes to things that you're going to sell as well. So I might want to sell like this clipboard or something, right? I'm telling you, listen, I'm a visual learner. Are you guys a visual learner? So I'm bringing you on the journey because that's how I learn, and that's probably how you learn too. So I'm bringing you on, so we're documenting the journey. So this being recorded is being a document of the journey of 518 Talks. So we're documenting the journey. One of the things that I saw on Facebook was the Cocoa House. William asked for toys for the kids, and I have a bag of toys, so I'd like to present that with you. What happens when you document your journey, it means that people are going to be starting to pay attention to you. They'll find out that that cause is important to them in their heart, that they want to give more than they can receive, right? So there's a game in there, and I want to play well with it. It's the headbands game, you know, and then he has to guess, like, what's on my head here. So that's a really fun one. Okay, I'm a nerd, okay? So yeah, well, Bill Gates says be nice to nerds because chances are you will end up working for them. So, yeah, but I geek out on stupid stuff, so. But the reason why you want to tell your story and using your senses is because you want to document your journey. And when you document your journey, you can see people going from A, B, C to Z, correct? So you want to be able to do that with your organization, with your, whatever you're doing. If you're building a brand or you're creating a product, you're just documenting how you're going to do that, right? If you were going to bake a cake, you would want to know that you needed eggs and oil and water and a batter and then an oven, right? So you're going to, that's in a recipe, right? So this is kind of the same thing, if that makes sense. By the end of it, you're going to have this cake, and now you're going to need frosting and got to have sprinkles. So the journey of that cake, right? You could be able to tell the journey. So it goes with anything, and marketers use that. They document the journey. So I'm giving you that tip because it's a really valuable one. Ways that you can continue to document the journey is Facebook Lives, videos, vlogs. Do you guys know what vlogs are? Videos and vlogs together. Authoring a book. I don't know if you've ever read the book by Joe Vitale. It's P.T. Barnum's story, Customers Born Every Minute. Well, he talks about the 10 principles of the rings, and one of the ways to become a person of influence is to grab attention to, like, he went into town on a big elephant, right? So if you have this big thing and you're trying to conquer it, you have to eat an elephant one piece at a time, right? So writing a book is a way of getting your message out there, and then you can continue to document the journey. The cool thing about documenting journey is that how you can actually take, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit, take all this content and then recreate it and repurpose it into a book, and then your book of your journey has already been documented. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a little bit. Also with a Facebook group, like a private group. So we're not sure what Zuckerberg will do. Chances are he'll kill small businesses with social media, with your personal pages. So Facebook group is a great place. Creating units so that you can have your fans in there and you continue to keep them interested in your product and the things that you're doing. So, and in your Facebook groups too, you can also charge for the units. So if you have documented your journey and then you put them in your Facebook group, chances are, I've told my story a million times, but this is the first time you guys have heard my story, right? So only you are the one that's gonna get sick and tired of hearing your story over and over again, but everyone else might not. They might get inspired by that story. You might change that one person's life. So documenting the journey, doing a book, even sending it to Facebook Live, learning ways to optimize, because Up the Biz, that's what we do. We teach you how to optimize your business and be able to brand it for kind of free, because these are all platforms that you could use for free. How many of you have a podcast? Cool, right? Sort of. Well, podcasting is the new radio, and I'm having so much fun. I started to do a podcast on Anchor, which is a free platform. You don't own your content on Anchor. On Libsyn, you do own your content, but you have to pay $5 for your slug. So my slug, my name, it's sort of like having upthebiz.com, so owning your .com. So you're gonna try to get your slug as quickly as you can, because that's the new radio, and someone stole Fundraising Secrets, so I had to go Fundraising Secrets show. So as soon as your content gets out there, people are gonna want it. So try to protect your slug, and that's your name, so that you can start your podcast, even if you reserve it now and then go to it later. If you want a cheat sheet on how to do that, you can text me at UpTheBiz 22828. So it's 22828. And you'll get on the list, and I'll be able to send you the cheat sheet to be able to learn how to podcast. And you can do that all within like the next hour. Well, after this anyways. So I shared with you guys a really vulnerable part of my life when I told you that I got fired from my job and I had to recreate myself and write a business plan and start all over. So how did I go from like not knowing what I was going to do, writing a business plan, not sure if it, and actually I really spent a lot of time on this business plan too, and for Village Boutique, and not knowing what was going to happen and if it was going to work. So, and then to lose Curves and to lose the franchise and like almost be close to bankruptcy. The one thing that people do you guys know what that is? No? I'll tell you what it is. You decide, you make a decision to change your outcome. When you decide that that is no more that you and no more that you want, you make that decision that this is not the life I want, this is the life I want. That's when you're going to move from a place of less up to a place of more, to a place of lack, from a place of lack to a place of gratitude. Who wants to be on the side of gratitude? Right, I agree. So the second that you make the decision, you decide. That's exactly how you're going to move from point A to B, from going from lack to gratitude. So interestingly, so that's the part on storytelling. I'm actually a really introverted person. You would never really know that because everybody's like, oh, you have the biggest smile, or you're so approachable, but I'm actually really introverted. Just social media and having a company that is in advertising, I have to be loud. So whoever creates the most content is king, and I want to be the queen. So I tried to create more content than anyone else out there. So that's the section that I'd like to share with you. And there is more for storytelling, but I'm only limited to 15 minutes, and I'll probably go 20. But that's the section on storytelling. Was that good? Did you guys enjoy that? Yeah, cool. All right, so mentorship. How do you find the right mentor? Does anyone have a mentor? Right, there's great value in mentorship, right? So for me, for years, after having all those ups and downs in businesses, and I actually owned a franchise, and so I thought I was buying the blueprint of mentorship, right? I should be able to call the accountant firm or the department. I should be able to call the HR department. I should be able to call the franchise fee department and get that mentorship that I need, right, to how to improve my membership or how to improve my business skills. But it wasn't there, right? I had all these disbeliefs and all these false things that happened. So what I started to do was I started to ask people to be my mentor. And what happened was basically end up being like just exhausting because what they were teaching me and what I wanted to learn wasn't aligned with where I wanted to be and go. So I was wasting my time asking people and I was wasting their time. So decide where you want to go and who you want to be mentored with. And I'm going to tell you the site that you can go to find that mentor as well. But for me, honestly, I didn't have the professional growth or even the leadership skills until I hired a mentor, until I started to pay. And you know what? When you pay attention, right? So most people want mentorship for free, or they say, oh, that's my mentor. But if you have no skin in the game, you really aren't taking it seriously. You're like a part-time entrepreneur or a seeker entrepreneur, or even that promoter level. You're just not there fully committed. But until you start paying, you'll see this graph of growth. And that's how, for me, this past year has been phenomenal. And I just can't, I'm not going to reveal what I made, but it's pretty nice. So, so from going from where I was, and then just an idea, it's pretty exciting. And I'm so thrilled and proud. And one of the projects, too, if you on Hamilton Hill, that big building that went up on the corner of Stanley and Craig Street, well, my company did all the tile work there. And so that elevated me quite a bit. And then also the Electric City apartment, all the tile work there, my company's also doing that. So if you just take those two major projects, it's kind of, you can kind of figure out what happened. So it's been phenomenal. But the reason is because I gave more than I received. I asked for the mentorship, I reached out, and I also paid, because when I started to pay, I paid attention. So I hope you found value in that. Does that make sense? All right. So another way that you can find mentorship is on Facebook, there's group masterminds, but you could create your own mastermind. Now, today's Tuesday. Every 2 weeks, I travel to New Jersey to go see a mastermind there. My mastermind coach, he makes $150 million a year. It's Kearney Care Products, and he's my mentor in New Jersey. I go there every week, 2 weeks, or every 2 weeks to go be mentored by him and a group of us, too. But the reason why is because those who pay attention. I put some skin in the game, I put the work in, and I know that how the result that I want, if I don't put that in, I'm not going to receive. So, and then I want to be able to give it back to my community and the place that I live. So those who pay attention. Some of my coaches that I've had hired, I don't know if you know Russell Brunson. He's the founder of ClickFunnels. He's my coach. He's my mentor. So I was just in Phoenix with him a few weeks ago, and he did a thing called Traffic Secrets, which is a new way of finding traffic to grow your business. And he did a 3-day training with 600 of us. So it was kind of cool. And then we all had lunch and dinner and all that kind of stuff. So it was kind of cool. Now, how many of you own your own businesses? All right, so sometimes what happens is I business coach clients, and what happens is sometimes they're like, well, I'm in this market, and I'm in this market, and I'm in this market. Well, guess what? You can't be in all the markets. There's only 3 markets. Do you guys know what they are? There are only 3 markets that you can serve. There's health, wealth, and relationship. So there's 3 markets that you can serve: health, wealth, and relationship. So I'm in the wealth market. The wealth market is online, digital, coaching, and then my coaching and book programs up there, right? And there's this thing called a value ladder. And as my value increases, so does my price. But I can only know that of which market I'm going to serve. Now, there's only 3 markets that you can serve in: health, wealth, or relationship. So all of you shave with a shaver like Gillette, right? What market do you think they're in? Okay, who said relationship? All right, bang on. They're in the relationship market. The reason being is, ooh, you've got a cute face and shave, nice shave, right? They're selling that relationship so that you can feel like sexy and clean and shaved, right? So it's a relationship, it's how they feel. So what happens in health, wealth, or relationship, you can start to organize them and figure it out. And we have a whole chart so that you can find your submarkets. So when she was asking you, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? If you did this correctly through your 3 markets, you would know exactly where, because your value ladder would have showed you that, and your subcategories 4 levels deep in that market would show you, right? Now, if you do go into these markets, health, wealth, or relationship, when you pick one, your sales message, just like Gillette, is what will put them into that message of relationship, right? So you guys said health, right? Keeping fresh and keeping clean, and like that would make complete sense. But after all, their sales message is him shaving and a girl kissing on him and like having fun and feeling good and clean, right? His hygienes are fresh. So they're selling the relationship. No, but unless you want a stinky guy, I mean, does anybody want a stinky guy? So, but they sell relationship, and so that's how you know. It's in the sales message, all right? So everyone that is in this, you can only be in one market. So if you're gonna do a sales message, your sales message has to be in health, wealth, or relationship. And then you go from there, all right? So that's exactly how you do that section. But in mentorship, that's exactly one of the things. You have to find out what market you want to serve in order for people to be able to help you. How am I doing on time? Are you guys finding value? All right, cool. All right, so I'm gonna move on to volunteerism. So volunteerism increases your network and it also increases your net worth. Okay, very important to understand your network and your net worth. And the reason being is that how we all have these disbeliefs that how my business isn't there yet, so I can't volunteer. I don't make enough money in my business, so I can't give you $2 or $10 or whatever, because we've been programming our minds that we have all these disbeliefs. When I make XYZ amount of money, I'm going to be able to donate and I'm going to be able to impact. But the thing is you're cutting yourself short from the opportunities because your net worth your network increases your net worth. So for me, I volunteer my time with a lot of organizations, YWCA, Girls Inc., my daughter has her own Kids Introduction to Soccer. I did Special Olympics for 2 years. This year we're doing NAMI, the National Association of Mental Health. I strategically do this because it increases my network. And it positions me as a content queen because I'm bringing my knowledge to them for free, but yet I'm winning on the other end, right? So the givers get. So that's what I want to say. It's like change your disbelief about donating, change your disbelief about volunteering. Don't wait till, oh, when I retire, I'm going to be able to do that. When you retire, you're going to be like, I want to do something else. I'm bored. You know, when you want to make an impact, pick something that you're really passionate about and go all in. Go 100% in and donate all your time that you can to doing that. For me, I take 10 weeks a year and I pick an organization and I create a whole entire fashion show. As you know, I studied fashion. And I create a fashion show, my girlfriend Melissa and we donate 100% of whatever we raise to that organization. So we did Special Olympics back to back. We gave them $73,000. Thank you. So I'm not going to wait till I retire because I want to do this till the day I die because I know I could do it. This particular year, we're going to take 10 weeks. We're going to donate our time to NAMI, which is the National Association of Mental Health. I think that today we all could be, I don't know, it's so emotional for me because you think about what's going on with the California fires and then the shootings everywhere and people and the PTSD, and it's just like my heart goes out to all these families. And how do we stop it, right? But I don't know if we're going to stop it. But if we start with education, we start educating, and we show people that we're interested in helping them. Maybe that's the hand that will help them. Right? You don't know the message until you get there and you start saying, "Here's my hand. I want to help you." So our goal this year is to be with NAMI. When I told you about volunteering, let's see, 2014. So 2014, I created this app. It's called Where to Shop and Dine. It connects colleges and communities for safe places to shop and dine while in a college region. And I know you people probably think I don't sleep, but I really do. I do get 8 hours. Ooh, sorry, now there's lipstick on there. I get 8 hours of sleep. I need to. But so my app connects colleges and communities, but, okay. So what happens is a portion of that roundup goes to help alleviate childhood hunger. So we started out just being able to do 100 kids with 35 elementary schools. Now we do 3,500 kids in 200 elementary schools. That's what I'm saying. You can do something if you want to. You have to decide. Once you decide, then you can do that. I feel like I've just gotten like the hook. So I'm going to show you something that gets me excited. It's called my enthusiasm meter, and it goes like this. So this is the meter, and I'm left-handed, so sorry. So you have your smile, your network, your opportunity, your value increases, and so does your income. So that's something to get excited about once you can start seeing it and visualizing it, because it's just simple steps. Start here, end here. Where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? So that's something that I get excited about every time I present or share with somebody. I'm like, hey, that's a really cool thing to do. So your network increases your net worth. I don't have time to share fundraising secrets, so I'm sorry. You guys, you did send me a text at 2:28:28, and I'm after you guys can share. I knew my presentation was long. I just didn't know how to cut it because I'm a jibber jabber, but I'm really introverted. So, so thank you so much.
Do we have 2 questions?
Hello and thank you. My name is Tabitha and I enjoyed your presentation. I had an actual whole separate question lined up, but something small that you mentioned I think is really huge is about being an introvert, because I'm an introvert also, and I'm always accused of not sleeping too, and I think I do similarly have a presence on social media, and I think I want to speak to that because it's children or young people tend to be sort of confined to what people think or say about them. So if you're a quieter person, they kind of associate that with your capabilities as a person. So I just think that was actually huge what you mentioned. And it reminds me of a blog or website I think is Quiet Revolution, where they talk about introverts being the leadership qualities of introverts and how social media definitely is our realm too. So just like sharing that in solidarity with you.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Us
you,
introverts have to stick together.
that's right. And you and Trent, I think also the underlying message that both of your presentations had for me were about mindset, particularly growth mindsets. And, you know, he was talking about cultivating habits and, you know, qualities as a person, and you're so much talking about the decisions you made in, you know, navigating the world as an introvert. So I appreciated that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. I appreciate you.
What are some of the underlying, I guess, like some of the attributes that you would have in your business that would make you fall into the relationship, the health, the wealth category? So, like, how does your business fall into the wealth category? I guess.
So there's a whole training that we do on that between the health, wealth, and relationships. So for example, in the wealth, you could do online, you could do, like a lot of people might think, when you think of wealth, they might just think of a financial advisor or financial broker, but there's so many jobs, but it's in the sales message of how you want to put yourself there. So you could be in the health industry, but your sales message for a gym could be in a relationship industry. So it's all driven on your sales message. So once you sit down and you go 4 levels deep on your sub-markets of where you want to serve, that's how you would really make a decision.
Let's thank Maya and her wonderful presentation. She came out here with the board, the markers. She was absolutely prepared. Thank you for the donation for the gifts. The kids are gonna love that. Hannah's gonna dislike it because she's gonna have to clean up the pieces. But it's all good. But this is the type of information that we have to be able to provide to our community. It's important for young entrepreneurs, those in business, those thinking about getting into business, to have access to this information. Social media integration is absolutely key right now. So, you know, that's why in putting together this presentation, I thought it was absolutely important that I have her as one of the first for the launch. I thought it was just that much important. All right, so our next speaker, right, is absolutely amazing, great. She's behind the scenes. She does a lot of wonderful work. She's actually the person who talked me into jumping out there and running for school board. I still don't know how she did it, but it was a wonderful opportunity, you know, great experience. So, I've had a great relationship with this individual, and again, what she's going to come up here and talk about, I think, is extremely important. So, without any further interruptions, Miss Ange Morse, thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm glad that we have a lot of people in the room. Just kidding. I'm not a comedian, but my family thinks that I'm hilarious because I have like corny jokes. So when I tell the jokes, they're like, and then when they think about the jokes, they're like, that's funny. That's funny. So before I start, I'm going to tell you a little funny joke, just because I feel like everyone's in a room and you're listening, but it's like a little tense. So what I do is, when I talk to kids in the high school and middle schools, I like to break up the room with an icebreaker or relax the room because people, with my title, I'm not coming after you. I'm just giving you information. What I'm going to talk about is totally different for what I do. But before I do that, I want to tell you a little joke. So why does the basketball, what's the difference between a basketball, what's the same thing as a basketball and a baby? They both dribble. I'm a basketball player, so I had to tell that little joke. So as again, you laughed, but if you saw my title on Facebook, who I am, I'm Ange Morris. I'm the Executive Director, Human Rights Commissioner for Schenectady County. That is what I do. That is not who I am, okay? Thank you, appreciate it. So I'm gonna give you a little bit background on myself, tell you a little bit about what I do in my role, tell you a little bit about my personal story, and then tie it at the end of some best practices or strategies or some tools to give you as a community to go back to your local business, organization, school district, whatever you do, and implement what I've done as an experience and real life story. Everything I'm going to tell you today is not what I read, what I heard, but what I've done and what I experienced. What I do here in Schenectady County is I work with all local businesses, nonprofits, faith communities, all the school districts, elected officials, law enforcement, criminal justice, juvenile justice systems. I work with everybody. So that sounds like I don't sleep. You're absolutely correct. I work on behalf of the community, making sure everybody's rights are protected and respected. I make sure that the local issues that impacts every community are addressed, dealt with, and making sure that there's constructive solutions to problems that impacts everybody, and making sure there's mutual respect and understanding amongst all groups, creeds, racial groups, and on, and also teaching and training people about the basic human rights and also the basic human rights laws here in New York State. The other thing that I do is I'm ally to those school districts. I work with parents, I work with youth. My heart is youth because of when I tell you my story, you'll understand. The sessions or the segments that you've heard, it's an alignment that we are in tonight, talking about living your dreams, talking about the branding of volunteerism and mentorship. And what I'm going to talk about is going to be tied into the first and second segment. What I'm going to talk about is bringing effective change to wherever you're at, but within that effective change starts with yourself. The world is our university, and everybody in it is a teacher. But when we wake up, we have to make sure that we go to school. The other thing is, we learn from our highs, we learn from our lows to ride on our highs. My story, my mother was a single mother of 4 kids. She worked in the community, worked in the church. I'm a PK kid, so preacher's kid, PK. Born and raised in the church, very, very Christian biblical principles. You can't do this, can't do that. Against all dealt with the conservative views on homosexuality and all that. We won't get into the religion part. Born and raised in the church, mother working in the community. She was an advocate for public education. We were in public schools. It was when I was in 5th grade, a counselor said to my mother that she would never be nothing. I will be a C student. My mother said, "How dare you tell that to me when my daughter at home is taking care of our family." I never had a childhood because my mother was out in the community working at church, working with the politicians. She was the president of the municipal housing board. So we were in public housing, but she worked for the state administrator at SUNY. Never knew my biological father. And I'm going to be very transparent with you. So some of you all that know me, you're going to hear something that's probably going to wow you. Never knew my biological father until I was 35. Me and my brothers and sisters, we were raised, we had uncles, strong men around us from the church, uncles, community basketball coaches, baseball coaches. We knew about mentorship, role models, fatherhood, but we didn't really get to know our father. When it was told to me that I would never be anything, nothing, I channeled that anger into academic or sports competition. So what I did was I got involved with basketball. I played basketball from the age of 6 until right now. I actually played yesterday, I did some hoops. I'm a super athlete. I run, ride, swim, play all types of tennis, sports. I don't know if some of y'all could come play me in basketball, but we'll have a basketball game afterwards. But growing up, I said I'm going to be something. I always wanted to be a judge, but before that, I wanted to be a prosecutor. But before you become a judge, you have to be an attorney. So I channeled my anger into competition and academics. Worked my way through middle school, high school. Through high school, I had a learning disability that every time I studied for a test, I blink out. I know some youth probably in this room have that same disability, learning disability. There's nothing wrong. But at that time, I guess there was a stigma. And I'm going to be nothing, blink out. So worked through college, high school. My mother was very involved with the community. And when I got to high school, I was top of my class. Went to Hudson Valley. My mother got remarried. We came here 21 years ago, so I'm not from Albany. I'm not a native of Albany. I'm from the southern tier part of the state, Binghamton, New York. We came up here 21 years ago after I graduated, went to Hudson Valley. Got involved on campus, student senate, student government, was involved with the president's council and all that. Transferred to UAlbany. Went to UAlbany, Great Danes. It's a great day, great night to be a Great Dane. Graduated, top of my class at UAlbany. But I graduated from high school, top of my class. They said I would never be nothing. Went to UAlbany. I was on my way going to law school, Syracuse or Albany, law. Something told me, look into the internships. Did internship at the State Assembly. Did the State Assembly internship. My mentor was my assemblyman, Ed Sullivan. He says, Ange, save yourself $150,000. You don't have to go to law school to work in public service, to be in politics. Okay. So I worked in the legislature, and little did I know that destiny was going to hit my door. We all are here for a purpose, to give life, to be life, to give love. But you never know when your future will be at your door until you forget your past and embrace your future. So, riding the elevator up and down, there was a gentleman I would always say hi to. Hi, how are you? Good, how are you doing? Good. Another day, hi, how are you? Good, how are you doing? Oh, I saw you in the paper. You want to help on my campaign? Yeah, sure. Little did I know that he was going to be my future boss, and that was former Mayor Brian Stratton, who is the current New York State Director of the Erie Canal, who's under Governor Cuomo. So at that time, he asked me to come work on the campaign, worked on the campaign. After that, he won here in the city and asked me to come work for him. I became the first African-American female, African-American to work in City Hall at that time. In order to schedule an appointment with the mayor, who would you have to see? You had to come see me. At this time, people didn't know where I came from. Oh, she's not from Schenectady. She's not. Okay, that's okay if I'm not from Schenectady. that don't make me who I am because I'm not from Schenectady. I had to move from Troy, where I lived at home, to move to Schenectady. And I'm going to tell you this right now, don't hate me, but I always said I would never live in Schenectady because I would hear bad stuff about it or the depiction of Schenectady. But again, when destiny calls you and purpose calls you, and when you're assigned to certain places and people, God places you at certain times and seasons and reasons or lifetimes. So, Mayor Stratton's office, worked there for about 4 years. Then all of a sudden, working on campaigns. I went to school for campaigns. So worked on, in year 2000, was at SUNY. I worked on Hillary Clinton's campaign. Little did I know that when I went to the mayor's office, she was going to become senator. First person she comes into the office, "Hi, Ange." Senator Clinton. Fast forward, after that, out of the blue, I get a phone call from the second floor of who? Governor Spitzer. Client number 9. Can you come in for an interview? We want to interview you for this job, this and that. Okay. Well, at this time, I was very tired of going back and forth to Albany, back and forth commuting. So I said, well, I live in Schenectady. Is there anything in Schenectady? Sure. Well, we have an appointment. Where? New York State Lottery. That building right there. Okay. I thought about it. It was very hard for me to leave Mayor Stratton, but I talked to Mayor Stratton. He says, Ange, you got to do what you got to do if you feel this would be a right fit, new challenge. Long story short, went to go work for Governor Spitzer at the New York Lottery, working with Yolanda Vega, doing her, I was working for the communications and did all her press conferences, traveling every day, all day at the governor's office. 2012, so it was Spitzer, Patterson, and Cuomo, worked there. And then all of a sudden, destiny called again. Another assignment was, during this time working at the mayor's office, I was part of the agency where I'm at, leading. I didn't know that I was going to lead this agency. 6 years later, I got appointed to the Human Rights Commission as a board member, and then they needed me to step up to be the chair of the board. And then after that, the former executive director, after 17 years, retired, and I had to be interim chair and executive director. So then in 2012-13, I was officially appointed to this position where I'm at, which makes history in Schenectady. I'm the first African-American female, the only African-American female to be in a commissioner level, and the youngest ever in the county. So the journey from I'm never gonna be nothing to where I'm at now was a struggle. And so when you see people in positions of authority or positions of leadership or success, it's not about the glory. You know, you see them behind the mic and got an appointments and invites. You have to know their story and their journey, because winning or success has a lot of stress. It's a lot of strain. And in order for you to build your team, your life team, or bring effective change, you have to have certain people around you that, one, has your loyalty, that has your heart, and number 3, has your common goals or commonalities that you identify with and that you know that has your heart. You should have there's 3 people or 3 types of groups that is around you. You have comrades, confidants, or constituents. You are the CEO of your life, and you have to build your team. So as I'm building my team through life, I'm surrounding myself who I want to be like. So I always wanted to be attorneys. I always wanted to be attorneys. So right now, I work with attorneys. A lot of my friends are attorneys. A lot of my friends are judges. A lot of my friends are elected officials. A lot of people that I work with are educators. My family is full of educators and attorneys. So whoever you want to be like, you start surrounding yourself with. But also you got to look in yourself personally. In order for you to get to where you need to go, you got to have the character to keep you there. A lot of people have a lot of gifts that will take them somewhere, but not a lot of character to keep them there. That is sustainability. You want to be in the front line and be on the mic, and you want to do this and do that, but do you have the wherewithal? Do you have the thick skin to combat the battle or the stress of winning? Do you have the intelligence or the IQ to manage the situation? The intellectual IQ, meaning managing that situation of a crisis. Do you, number two, have the emotional equation, the emotional stability, the emotional security? Are you secure in your own self when you see somebody getting praise? Are you celebrating them, or are you hating on them because you're not being celebrated? Do you have the adaptability or the AQ, the adaptability to adjust and adapt in seasons of crisis? Do you buckle under stress or pressure? Do you freak out and have mood swings when things aren't going your way when you're in your business? Is your staff looking at you like you're crazy because you're freaking out? Do you have, when you have to deliver bad news, do you do it in a accurate, concise, clear messaging? Because clear messaging provides clear expectations, which avoids disappointments. So, are you emotionally stable? Are you secure within yourself? So when you go up, you could bring other people up, so you don't have to get the credit to make yourself feel validated and approved, because you have to have that emotional, addicting approval to make yourself full, because you have voids in your life from either past experiences with your childhood or bad breakups because of the root of rejection or abandonment or neglect. The reason I'm saying this is because when you're in leadership and you're working with other people and attacks come against you, you have to know who you are and be full of confidence. So as I've been in this position, I'm gonna give you storytelling. I'm gonna give you an example of why, as I said at the beginning, you ride on your lows, you learn from your lows, and you ride on your highs. To be successful, you have to adjust with change. The change will determine your leadership, either in your marriage, with your kids, with your company, in business. In order to bring effective change, you have to be that change and have it within personal. You have to have a humble attitude. You can't be the only one in the room that you think you know everything and not have, you have a team around you that has the wisdom, knowledge, understanding of how to do it, who's been there longer than you, and you can't humble yourself to say, thank you, let's work it, I got you, yep, I hear you, I'll work with you. You have to have a pleasant attitude. You have to show love where people come against you, you still got to be classy. Say hi, but even though you don't want to say hi. You got to be patient with people. Right? My patience sometimes wears thin. You got to be patient. You got to be kind. You got to walk in love, in the spirit of love. Do things in the spirit of excellence with integrity and character in order to be that effective change maker, agent, and bring effective results. 2017, we have MLK Coalition here in Schenectady for the last 30 years. For a year before that, I did research around the state. Schenectady wasn't part of that research because I did research from Buffalo to Long Island regarding the MLK Permanent Designated Area Voter Street. Found that Schenectady didn't have a permanent area voter street. So what we did was we got together and we said, let's make this happen to celebrate and commemorate Dr. King for 30 years for the coalition here in Schenectady. We did the research, we presented it to the city council. They said, well, in order for you to do it, we have to have 2-block window for Dr. King Street. We said, 2 blocks? Dr. King got a national, international holiday. He has road, streets. Schenectady's only given 2 blocks? So what we did is, we strategized. What we did, we strategized is then what we did was we galvanized. We got the community involved in that neighborhood. So we had to do petitions to get neighborhood input and whatever. Make the long story short, we were in the same room for a celebration program. We had 700 people, lines out the door because Dr. Perry was our speaker. The mayor presented us with a proclamation, but as he presented us with a proclamation, he presented us with another proclamation that effective immediately January 15th, 2017. Dr. King Street was live and well in Schenectady, not 2 blocks, but we got a whole neighborhood named after Dr. King, more than what we wanted. So if you go on Albany Street from Veeder Ave all the way up to Brandywine, the corner of State Street, that is MLK Junior Way, and that is what we did. We brought effective change. Not only that, the Hamilton Hill community, from that day, April 11th, we had that ceremonial renaming, and we had about 300 to 500 people from that neighborhood celebrate with us. Also, from that day, we took pride in the community took pride. We haven't had not one homicide, murder on that street since MLK came on Schenectady Street. Economic development has gone up on Albany Street, and you can see it. The Joe Allen Apartments, you see the corner of Brandywine and MLK Junior Way is the new Stewarts. That whole strip has been cleaned up. The neighborhood is now taking pride, and we haven't had any major incidences on that road. So in my closing, as I said, that is how you bring effective change to a locality or your community or your family. You bring people on your team that is like-minded. You bring people on your team that is loyal. You bring people on your team that has the same goals as you. But also you as a person has to feel confident in yourself. And that not only confident, but you have to have those values or those traits of humility, kindness, gentleness, meekness, love, joy, peace. And as you emulate that and bring those out of you, people will receive that. And they will start asking, how can you help me? I need help. And as you become humble, you start getting elevated. And that's what I do. Wherever I go, my access that people may not have, I try to help people to help themselves. And as I help people to help themselves, I'm bringing them into places of access that I may have because my contacts and my networks are not for me, but it's for others. And that is what Dr. King talked about, that beloved community, fighting on behalf of those who may not have what we may have. And everything that we go through is not for us or for you, it's for the next person. So I have more to my story, but I know I had to say it in 15 minutes, and I'm not sure if I'm at my time limit. So just hopefully I was able to share with you some nuggets of how to become successful. And success is only what you make it and how you perceive it. Thank you.
Firstly, I'd like to say it was a very inspirational story. I'm glad to hear you speak. I didn't really know what to expect of tonight. This is my first time at anything like this. I know this is a little out of left field and has almost nothing to do with anything you talked about. I learned a couple years ago that it's not just in Schenectady schools, it's a worldwide situation of nobody in their school systems are being taught their human rights. At no point, I graduated Schenectady High School 2013, I went to college. Never at any point in school was I taught human rights, neither were my classmates. And I've never had any real issues with this, but I do know people who have. With somebody with your standing and connections, I'm sure, to the school board, is there some way in at least starting in the local area, we can try to, even if it's just a seminar once a year where we just talk to students about it, just to be it known, because I don't even know how many human rights there are.
So I could ask that question because I get it all the time. So I work with all the school districts here in Schenectady County, and that's basically being an ally. Going into schools, being a motivational speaker, but also helping the school district, the principal or teachers, letting them know, like someone like me, for kids to see regarding making sure they're getting the quality education and making sure that their rights are protected and respected within the school. So as what I do is I'm an ally. So if something happens in the school, say a principal calls me and they just want me to be a community member to come in and just see how the school is being run and some questions and recommendations, that's what I do. But also I talk to students about their human rights. I talk to them regarding current issues, if they have current issues going on in their school, and I also teach them of how to be school leaders. The tips that I gave you about strategizing, galvanizing, implementing, and taking action. So if you want an issue to be addressed, say they wanted school spirit, and there's no team school spirit or prep rallies, I say, okay, first what you need to do is strategize it. How are you going to make sure your school gets this? Make sure your students are getting a petition. That's a strategy. Then when you get the petition, you want to galvanize. So that petition goes out to the whole entire school body. The other thing is, if you want to take action, you have to implement. So you start making meetings with your school principals, and then from there, it's execution. That's it. So when they do that, that happened in one of the schools here in the county. They were having issues, and I said, okay, well, in order for this issue to go away, not go away, but to bring change, you got to be the change. So this is what you do. And then now that school has exactly what I shared with them with implementation, the strategies. That school has, the students did what I asked them to, kind of gave them recommendations, and it's been going on for 3 years, this group, a Respect Club, and it talks about human rights and basic rights and discrimination. It's been going on for 3 years. So it's up to the school district or to that school to want to bring about changes. And I also work with school board members. Hey, they call me all the time. What's going on? And I say, hey, listen, this is what you guys got to do. This is what you have to do. You're a school board member, you're an elected official, you work on behalf of the community, and we have to hold you accountable and responsible. And I also talk to parents. If you want your school district to change, what you need to do is first get to your school board meetings. You want to get to them, and then you want to engage with your teachers and the principals. After that, everybody has a right to vote. The biggest thing of a school district is the budget. And we have a school board member in here now, she could tell you. The biggest thing of a school district is the budget. And the budget is governed by that vote. Whoever comes out and vote, if it passes or fails. So it's up to individuals and parents and anyone else to get involved with your child's education, is go to school board meetings. That's civic engagement. We just had an election. People don't like their elected officials. What? They didn't vote. And if you don't vote, you can't complain. Sorry. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
So any given place that you see here, like Freight Shop or Walmart,
Yep.
or CVS, a handful of people that are on the staff, as you can say, how long have you been working here? They'll say, 2 decades or 30 years, whatever. Shows a reluctancy to change.
Right.
When you were telling us your story, you changed roles more times than I can count. Halfway through, I tried to go back and count and it was a mess. So, what has kept you, one, so open to the experiences, two, so teachable throughout the whole thing, three, hungry throughout? Because once you reach a certain level, I would assume that it's more difficult to
Yes.
push yourself to get to the next level.
Right.
How did you do that?
So I became a student of my craft. And I tell this to everybody. If you want to be a person where people reaches out to you and you're giving them counsel, you have to learn and be a perfect your craft. So even let me take it for sports. As a runner, I run marathons and stuff. And what I do is every day I'm at Vent Fitness, and I'm running, and beating my own time. So when I'm doing the 5K, I'm running not against others, but I'm running against myself to become better. And so when you want to become better, better doesn't become good until good is not enough. I surround myself with people where I want to go. So I have advisors that I talk to all the time, and they encourage me, and you're bigger than Schenectady, or you're bigger than this, or you need to improve here. And this next step will help you. So I apply every step that I take, one job, and I apply what I learned to the next job, and then I apply the next time. So as I'm applying stuff, I'm getting better, bigger, better, and I'm becoming a student of it. So now I have elected officials that call me, say, Ange, can you help me with this? Because I need to know this. Or I have superintendents or people calling me in higher places than me saying, I need to call you. They're calling me in meetings, asking me how to help them with their mission, organization, company to fulfill this. And I did that with I'm not going to call the organization here, but this nonprofit in the region. I had an idea, and I said, I invited them on a panel discussion that I had. And they said, we don't know anything about diversity. I need you to help me. A year later, we talked. A year later, talked about it. Now, that company has exactly what I recommended them to do within diversity and inclusion. And now they're seeing the difference in their company because of that result that happened 2 years prior. So to answer your question, it is tough to be the first, because when you're the first, you're the only, and the target is on your back. But as again, can you handle the success of winning? Because as you become a winner, you're also creating a whirlwind of life, meaning you're creating the own whirlwind, and because you're so good at it, but you can't manage the whirlwind 100%, because as you're trying to manage the whirlwind of success within that 100%, the other thing that comes around is the goals. So, but the goals in the whirlwind, you have to have time management. And within 7 days, within 1 week, it's 168 hours a week. And so what I do is I try to make sure that I'm living up to that 168 hours a week to my dream, my goal, or my future. So I'm perfecting the craft. I'm working on my balance of downtime, social life, personal life, and also work time. That's 168 hours a week. 7 times sleeping, 7 times working, 7 times fitness, 7 times running errands, 7 times going to church, 7 times, and times those numbers by 7, and you will have your 168. If you don't have 168, now you have enough time to work on your craft, to work on your dream. And that is what I do. Does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Morris. Give her a round of applause. So it's always important when you're doing something like this to have a closer, right? So like, if I had the Mariano Rivera music in the background, I would break it out right now. But this individual that is our closing speaker for today, it's a good friend. It's my brother. He's doing absolutely amazing work. And I've been I was following him a little while on social media for the longest, kind of stalking him because I'm like, yo, who is this guy? What's he doing? And I got to meet him in person. It's like, man, he's absolutely amazing. I love the energy. I love the work that he's putting in. So I'd like for you guys to give a round of applause to Mr. John Scott, co-founder of Fourth Family.
So in respect of everybody's time, I'm going to do my best to keep this to 10 minutes. I want to apologize for being late, but I had a good reason. Today was the first day of our after-school program at Schuyler Achievement Academy, so I was very happy about that. Yeah, we can clap it up for that, right? It's actually really, really funny because actually our first mentoring program that we were working with was the BCDI, Black Child Development Institute with Barry and Carmen Duncan, who's here from Mission Accomplished. So I'm a very interesting individual. I'll get into kind of my story real quick and then kind of why I'm here and what I do. But it's very important. This is, I don't make it outside much. I don't have kids. I don't have a girlfriend. I do this 7 days a week. So as Mr. Rivas alluded to, I am the co-founder of Fourth Family Incorporated. It's a nonprofit organization. We have a nationally recognized STEM program. We have a mentoring program, and we also have a program called Cherish the Chance, where about 4 or 5 years ago, I started going into Green Correctional Facility, working with the 16 and 17-year-old inmates there. And what was really cool about that is, I used to go in there and, say you guys could be anything you want to be, and, you'll be having conversations bigger than I am and talking to the governor, and lo and behold, Cuomo did his Raise the Age initiative, and he actually spoke with 2 young men in our program. So it was a very cool moment. So those are our 3 main programs with Fourth Family. I'm also the co-owner of Gifted Athletes. I'm an administrator in the Albany City School District. The director of basketball operations for all of the Capital District YMCAs. An assistant basketball coach at Albany High School. So needless to say, I'm in trouble just for being here, but it's fine. Missing practice and a few other things, but again, this is well worth it. And, I want to keep this quick. But, I'm a very spiritual person, and, I was raised in the church, and my mother and grandmother would always say, if 2 gather in his name, there he is in the midst of them. So there's definitely something powerful with being here. And if we could just clap it up for Mr. Rivas, because this is a very difficult thing to do. And I appreciate you because I know all the hard work you've put into it, and the great speakers getting everybody's time. But if there's one notion that I can talk about tonight, it's going to be group esteem over self-esteem. And that's what Fourth Family we really try to do, is get people to believe in something bigger than themselves. So me being turned 30 a few weeks ago, which from First Street in Albany is a milestone. But this year I've lost, we've had 13 murders. It was the most since 1995 or something like that in Albany. And of the 13, I've known 11. So needless to say, I've been at a lot of funerals this year, had a lot of crying mothers. It's been a very tough experience for a lot of people. But what's not good, but I guess what we can bring out of that is a lot of the work that people like Carmen and myself have been doing, and Will and everybody else here, is being highlighted. So it's kind of cool now to vote, right? It's cool to do all of these things and be socially engaged, to where we've been doing this work when it wasn't cool, and it's extremely thankless. So I truly appreciate everybody that is on this path, because it's not an easy one. It's very thankless. It's tough. And my journey on this direct path, like our last speaker, I did play basketball. I went to Albany Academy. So I was the only black kid in my grade at Albany Academy. I am the test that they did at Albany Academy. So if you see Albany Academy, the basketball powerhouse now, my headmaster, when I was there, brought me in my senior year and said, hey, because you did so well here athletically and academically, they're gonna start letting more black kids into school. So at 16 years old, I didn't really understand the magnitude of that. But Albany Academy is, for those of you who know, is a school that's been around for 200 years. And there was a lot of things that, coming from Hackett Middle School, where I was running around with little gangsters all day, to going to Albany Academy, where they gave us real silverware. It was a different experience for me. But needless to say, I had some struggles, but I went on, got a Division I scholarship to Iona College. My coach got fired. I then went on to LIU in Brooklyn, where I played a few years. And then Brooklyn probably wasn't the best place for me, because I spent a lot of time off campus, needless to say, and got myself in some trouble. And what's interesting is a lot of people who've known me, and they see, me work with different people in the community, like, how is John talking? John he went to Albany Academy, he has no problems. I just don't really complain, and I don't talk a lot. As he mentioned, I'm a mystery to a lot of people, and I'm the type of guy, if you go and you have these presumptions of me, I'm gonna let you go ahead and do it. Because I know what I do, and I stand on that, and at the end of the day, I feel like I know my purpose. And when everybody knows the purpose of, I believe in a higher power, or why God has me here, it allows me to not really care what other people think, what other people say, and they say and think a lot these days. But so needless to say, I went off to college, and it's interesting enough, we're here in Schenectady. My journey really on this path that, has me in front of you started in Schenectady on June 11th, 2011. I don't know if anybody was familiar with Eddie Stanley, but Eddie Stanley was a standout basketball player at Schenectady High School. I was his coach with the City Rocks. We were at the Rumble in the Bronx tournament. Came home, like most of us did, lied, told his mom that, we had won and we're still in New York City playing. Unfortunately, went out, snuck out to a house party that night and got killed. So imagine being 21, just had a career-ending injury, couldn't play ball anymore, and that's all I did. My mother had started getting sick, and had a number of different things going on. And I come back, and now I have to tell a mother that her son is dead. Hardest conversation, wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, and at 21. So, this is after a life of, losing a lot of friends. My mother is originally from Harlem, New York. She came up here with Alcoholics Anonymous. I have a brother who has a learning disability, no GED. My mother's about 73 years old. So she had me at 42. So I've been that really mature little child for a while now. But needless to say, it was a hard conversation, telling mom that her son is not here anymore. And I distinctly remember, I forget what church it was here in Schenectady, but I distinctly remember walking in the funeral. And there was a lot of questions around what happened, whose fault it is. When somebody dies, we always need a finger to point on, right? So although me not being there and not physically putting him in harm's way, but because I was the last adult that he was with, that was something that was very hard for me to deal with. And it's still very hard to deal with. You don't get over those type of things. But needless to say, really put that drive in me to try to do anything that I could. So if you met me in 2012, before insurance, before websites, before a lot of stuff, I was literally just trying to do whatever I could to better my community. I was tired of seeing memorials on the corner, and that situation really shaped me. So a lot of people see the, John works with Google, or, he's partnered with the NBA Summer League, or he's got a contract with the school district, or, I've seen him in California and Chicago and Minnesota. A lot of people see the social media stuff, right? But what they don't see is the other side of it. And what the other side of it is that's why we'll get to that group esteem over self-esteem. Where I'm at, to be completely transparent, I'm 30, as I said earlier, and we have a mentality amongst, when I say us, I'm talking about in the inner city, to where it's hard. We want to see you do well, but we don't want to see you do too well, right? So, back in the, 70s, where we had the Malcolms of the world, the Martins of the world, really fighting for our rights. Now, a lot of the fight is against us. And I've had a conversation with a lot of brothers that, slavery worked, whether we want to admit it or not. And there's a mentality right now that if we don't fix it, black men like myself are going to be extinct. So the reason why I wake up every single day and 7 days a week do what I do is to stop going to funerals, to show kids that, hey, you see this guy on TV, you can be just like him. So that's why, over the last 3 years, I've brought LaMarcus Aldridge, who's a 5-time NBA All-Star, brought him out here. Guy who plays for the Golden State Warriors, we had him out here a couple months ago, plays with Steph Curry. Emmanuel Mudiay for the Knicks. And it's funny because a lot of people know me for basketball, and I really could care less about basketball at this point in my life. It's more so about these kids and showing them another way. So I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Eric Thomas. Anybody in the room ever heard of Eric Thomas? All right, well, he's a mentor of mine. So I got a real quick story that I'll finish off on, but he's a gentleman who is a world-renowned motivational speaker, right? So I remember watching this video on YouTube and hearing him speak like, yo, I gotta find this guy. So working with the YMCA, I was running the Black and Latino Achievers program at the time. He ended up being one of the keynote speakers. So I went to the event, stalked him, made that eye contact in the crowd. He was like, this guy's creeping me out. Waited, bought 3 books, and I was like, I need to talk to you because you said something that inspired me. So, fast forward to now, we have a great relationship. I can call him on the phone. He's somebody who's blown up since then, but he has this story that I want to share with you guys, and it's what's your why? All right, what's your why? If you're going through life and you don't have a why, most of us probably have one. It might be our kids. It might be, something that happened to us in our past, but establish your why. And that's why I always give my students, because until you have a why, you don't have a reason to not do something stupid, right? But if I have a why at home, if I have a why that's waking me up in the morning, if I have a why that's motivating me to go to the gym, whatever it is, that's going to be what keeps you focused. So for me, it's establishing that why is something that it's not for kids. It's not just for kids, I should say, us as adults. A lot of what we do at For Family is working with young adults. It's not just with kids. And then the other part of that, he has a phrase talking about when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. Anybody ever heard that phrase? Right. So for those that haven't, real quick, and for those that have, I know it's going to be a little bit repetitive, but there was a guru. I always share the story. There was a guru, right? And there was a kid who wanted to be like the guru. Guru made a whole bunch of money, and the kid went to the guru and said, hey, I want what you got. How can I get it? Guru said, you serious? Kid said, I'm serious. He said, meet me here at the beach at 4 or 5 a.m. He's looking at him like, this guy's crazy. 4 or 5 a.m. at the beach. All right, whatever. So he comes the next day. He's dressed kind of like myself, ready to, internship, business casual. And he comes out to the water, and the guy says, what are we doing? He says, I'm going to show you something. So he walks out to him. The guy's in the water. The guru is already in the water, and he's asking the kid to walk out to him. So the guru was probably about right where that first row is. And he says, take a step out. He says, take a step out. I don't wear my church clothes. Got all my stuff. My mother's going to whip my tail. He takes a step, right? Guru says, come closer. He's like, all right, it's a little weird. He took another step. Guru said, come closer. Now he's like, okay, this is really weird. I don't know what's going on. He takes another step closer to the guru, and when he gets to the guru takes him by the shoulders and puts him underneath the water. Now he's like, wow, I came here to learn from this guy about how to make money. He's going to kill me. This is not the way I plan to go out, right? So he's got him underwater. He's holding him by the shoulders, and the kid is fighting. He's trying to get air. He's trying to grasp. And he says to him, after a while, he picks him up, and he says, while you are underneath the water, and that's all that was going on with you, what was going through your mind? He said, I want to breathe. He said, right. You weren't thinking about Fortnite, right? You weren't thinking about the new Jordans, right? You weren't thinking about the latest jeans, the latest fad, Lil Uzi Vert's new song, right? You were thinking about breathing. And the guru said to him, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, that's when you'll be successful. So for me, that really resonated because there's a lot of distractions in the inner city. There's a lot of things for kids to fall victim to. And it's hard to just say, hey, do the right thing. Because right now it's harder to be a 15, 16-year-old than it ever was. We had distractions, but we didn't have social media, guys. If I had social media, I definitely wouldn't be sitting here talking to you because we just did a lot of stuff just to be doing it. But my point is, we have to instill in our youth that there's no such thing as bad kids, folks. I think anybody here in the right mind knows that, right? There's no such thing. There's bad adulting, there's bad parenting, but there's no such thing as bad kids. So you can clap for that. So my whole mantra is we have to make sure that, if you're dealing with kids in the inner city, and it's not just a black thing, it's not a white thing, it's not a Hispanic thing, it's a poor thing. And we have to understand that. And it takes a community to really change that. And that's what our motto is, that's what our phrase is, and that's what we really live by. So, 7 days a week, we are working to try to do that. And it's not an easy task, and you can't do it by yourself. But with opportunities like this for people to share their truths, to share their testimony, people meeting and asking questions, I know I learned some new things tonight about people that I was already a fan of. It's important. It's very important. You have people like Eugene, who's an entrepreneur, who kids need to see that. Kids need to see that, hey, you know Steph Curry, or you know the guy that plays with Steph Curry? It's a world of waste to them, right? So, but my whole thing is I want you to be an engineer. Forget Steph Curry. Right? I want you to be a businessman. I want you to be anything that is going to get you out of where you're at right now. So we have to make sure that we instill in our kids, you can do whatever you want. It's cliche, anything's possible, but show them. Don't just say anything's possible. Show them it's possible. Bring them around. We started our after school program today. The way I started it, I passed around sheets saying, who do you want to talk to? Right? Because I can bring a guy in here with a shirt and tie all day. This kid from First Street don't want to hear that. You can't relate to my pain. But when I come in and I tell you, hey, my family's been locked up too, or hey, somebody in my family just died as well. Now we're relatable. Now I'm down on your level, right? So you would have been amazed today. I got all of the tier 2 and tier 3 kids, right, which are your bad behavior kids. I had a teacher walk by the room and say, is that my student sitting there doing his homework? After 20 minutes you've been here? Absolutely. Why? Because I look like him, for one, right? 2, I'm coming in, right? It's honest, right? I look like him, and then the other part of that is he knows where I'm coming from, right? Or she knows where I'm coming from, right? So we gotta show tough love, right? We have to be there for our kids, and we have to stop pointing so much on people who are not interacting. Go vote, go do all those things. But if you're sitting here thinking about who you put in office is gonna change what happens on your block, I'm sorry to tell you, it's gonna take a little more work than that. We have to take accountability. We can go and complain to people like her. She needs our help. We have to meet them halfway. So go to the school board, go to your local politicians, your local government, go to these meetings, show your face, express yourself. But then don't wait for them to be the change that you wanna see. Go do that yourself, right? You don't have to, it's not something where, like I have people now, and I don't wanna go into it, and I'm wrapping up, but there's people who look like me who now, because I'm from where you're from, oh, John is fake. He's fake. He's not real, he's fake. All right, well, excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm articulate, okay? I'm a boss in 4 of my jobs. I'm not fake, I'm just professional. But I can come right and have a conversation with you about, an Albany Academy board member, and you say, John, I like what you do, boom, 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 write a check. But I can also go right over here to First and Judd and outside the Trap House, and I can have a conversation about why you need to leave that alone, right? So it's that versatility, but because you can do that, people don't like it, folks. I'm giving you the honest truth. So what I'm here to say, we have to work together. We're not in a time where, good people have to come together. Good people. I have great white people that work with me. I have great Hispanic people that work with me. I have great people from all over the world who work with me. And I got the chance to see the world outside of Albany, so I know what's out there, right? Every kid, I got kids that don't leave their block. So the next time you have the opportunity to change a kid's life or to expose them to do something, just try it. Just try it. You never know what the trajectory of that kid could be. Because I remember the 7th grade teacher who, when my friend died and I walked in middle school and I had RIP on his hand, I remember the one that told me, you're gonna be just like him, right? I remember that. But I also remember Miss Davis with her blonde dreads, who showed up at my house Saturday morning because I had a 79, she needed to talk to my mother because I was the only black kid in honors class and she wasn't gonna allow me to not achieve and be great, right? So don't cut breaks for our kids. Let's reach for the sky. Let's try to achieve whatever we can, and take matters into your own hands. Take matters in your own hands. It's not a time to sit back and let other people play with our babies' lives, because I know I'm tired of it. So I definitely appreciate your time. I want to keep everybody, within my time frame. I apologize for being late, but Mr. Rivas, I want to thank you again for this great opportunity. I could be up here for another 8 hours, but I want to appreciate everybody. Have a blessed night.
Hi. I just want to say thank you for showing up here tonight. And with you and your basketball and the people you know connecting with the kids and everything, I don't know if you know or connected with a gentleman here in Schenectady who does CYOB, Daniel Smalls.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm a big fan of Daniel Smalls, and he, from what he does on the basketball court to him being a lawyer, he's exactly the type of people I'm talking
I
about.
just wanted to ask if you were affiliated with him, and because if not, I was going to connect you with him because I work for him.
Connect, because it'll be more powerful if you do that. But I've known him for a while, and we do need to get some work together. So absolutely.
I work for him, so I'll definitely talk
Please
to him
do. Tell him
tomorrow.
John Scott said hello.
I will.
Absolutely.
How you doing, bro?
I'm all right, King. How you doing?
Doing good. Question: how'd you come up with the name? What fourth family?
Right. So I'm going to make sure, because we're being video recorded, so I'm not going to take credit for it. If we were off the camera, I'd take credit for it. Joaquin Hoke, who's my co-founder. So the more you get to know the guys at Fourth Family, I'm like the basketball neighborhood kind of rough around the edges guy. My business partner is the, went to Morehouse, political type. Everything's always going to be ironed. He's just very meticulous like that. So long story short, he made up the name Fourth Family, came up with it in a class at Morehouse. And the concept basically is your first family would be like somebody living in your house, like your brother, your sister. Your second family would be like a cousin who's very close, might be closer to an actual sibling. I think we all have those. Your third family would be, I know I have them just from having college teammates and being through all types of traumatic experiences, but your third family would be, somebody you went to college, or maybe have a coworker who you're very, very close with. And then fourth family, we try to be that member of the community who's not related to you, but like family. There's something in the African heritage with the families where he got the actual, name from, but he can explain a lot better than I can. But there you go, Ja, I gave you credit. Thank you, sir. Always.
So I want to thank, let's give a round of applause to all our speakers. I want to give a round of applause to the team at Open Stage Media. Brendan, thank you guys. Thank you guys up top. Also, real quick, thank you to my youth who came out today and did an absolutely amazing job. Hollywood, our host. JJ, our director. And Jamel, who was up there in the booth. The final thing I would really want to say is it means a lot to me to have you guys here. As a young man who, going through our school, I was told I was going to be absolutely nothing because I was creative and because I had dreams and because I had vision. My brother will actually tell you that when I was a kid, the saying I always had was what? As a kid, I used to always say that, and people thought I was absolutely, crazy because I didn't always make the best decisions. So to be standing here in front of you guys, doing what I'm doing right now, in front of my family, also a huge shout out to my wife, Shantae. She's unable to be here this evening. It means a lot, and I really thank you guys for being a part of this. The youth from Save Our Streets TV, I thank you guys very, very much for assisting me in making my dream come true. And tune into all the wonderful work that we'll be doing at 518 Talks, where we'll be giving vision a voice. Good night.